Couldn't really think of an intro for this, so we're just diving right in. Let's go. What's up, everyone? It's your boy Matt Diazable coming at you with the new music review. Hey, thanks for coming on by. I appreciate it. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, and comment. I would really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This news album review I'm doing here is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I really wanted to check this artist out, and that artist is Sasami with her latest album called Blood on the Silver Screen. If you don't know anything about this artist, Sasami is a New York-based multi-genre, multi-instrumentalist that is, a quite unique character in the music scene, as I've done some research on this person because I discovered her through a song, I think it's called Squeeze, off her second album. It was like on a random playlist. It has a very heavy industrial and dark feel to it, and I was like, yo, this is dope. And I wanted to keep checking her out, but I never checked out her full first album, and I saw that she dropped this album, so I was like, oh, I gotta check out this new album that dropped and everything. And then I was listening to it, and I was like, it's a very different album than what I heard with the more industrial sounding music she had before. And then I learned that each album she's put out, first one's a shoegaze, second one's more of an industrial and new metal style album, and this one is more of a darker pop centric album. So it seems like she's always trying to change her style and doing multiple things. So kudos to her for doing that, because that's very hard to do, and to be consistently doing that, mad respect. So let's talk about this album. And with this latest album, she is delivering a very moody, atmospheric collection of songs that blend, dream pop, grunge, and experimental electronics to really build something here that is very, I guess the best way I could say is ethereal, and it's not spacey, but it's just it feels like it's beyond us. It's something on a spiritual plane that has a really cool big feel to it, but also a weird uneasiness to it. From the haunting opening song Slugger to the slow burning finale The Seed, the album just overall feels like a soundtrack for a dream that is half remembered, because it's very cinematic, emotionally disjointed, but undeniably compelling. Vocally speaking, Sasami floats somewhere between, a very hushed, melancholy feel that reminds me of early Lana Del Rey, or a more theatrical, flared, but dialed back version of Lady Gaga. She's balancing out these two different styles and multiple styles very well on here. But then on songs like Just Be Friends and Honey Crush, she kind of pulls back from her influences, and she's able to start carving out her own identity with these very particular tracks. Her voice is very soft and restrained, yet has a very compelling emotional punch to it, especially when it's stretched over some really swelling synths or layered and fuzzed out riffs. It starts to become very dark and brooding, particularly on the song Possessed. I gotta say, there's an interesting tension between, her very understated vocal delivery and the moments where, the distortion and the grit just really break through. A very push-pull that kind of defines the whole album and gives it a very unique sonic texture. I feel musically, the music kind of leans more into some kind of haunting kind of nostalgia. Tracks like I'll Be Gone kind of echo 80s synth style pop with that very retro drum machine style, and has a very shimmering texture to it that just screams 1980s. Then you have the songs For the Weekend and Figure It Out, which really dive head first into some very 90s alt-rock territory, balancing out some really simple guitar riffs here with some very nice layered vocal performances. It's an album that's filled with very slow creeping intros that don't really go into these full blown out climaxes, but just more of these emotional plateaus. It just slowly builds and gets to where you need to go without ever really bursting and just, showing a lot of excitement. It's a very subtle record. Some good examples of that would be In Love with the Memory and Nothing But a Sad Face On. They kind of tease this very cathartic feeling, but really hold back to the very last moments of the song, maintaining a very slow, suspended emotional tension that really defines the album's slow burning allure. Production wise, I would say there's some moments of brilliance, some glitchy drums on the song Love Makes You Do Crazy Things, and then the surprising trap inspired break in its midsection kind of threw me off a little bit wasn't expecting that. Or, you know, the washed out guitar swells in the song Honey Crush, which do a really good job of contrasting with her very soft vocal line. And these moments that are very, you know, very unique are kind of sparsed out with some lo-fi, sometimes very sparse production that feels quite intentional. Tracks like the interlude Smoke, Banished from Eden can feel almost too subtle, so they kind of just feel like they disappear into the background and never really feel like a compelling part of the album. But what really ties this album all together is the emotional like tension and the emotional thorough line you get here, because it's a mix of heartbreak and longing and just surreal experiences of being haunted by your own memories. Whether it's on the aching but calm song Losing It All, which has like a very lullaby but like calm, I guess you could say country style feel to it, or the quiet unraveling of The Seed, where the album just really explores relationships, endings, and that inner conflict you have, but with a very ghostly touch to it. Even when, you know, the lyrics can seem a bit simple, I would say Sasami really helps elevate everything by having some really good production and tone that really carries the emotional weight she's trying to present here. The album is definitely not without its uneven moments. Like some tracks kind of blur together, especially in terms of the vocal dynamics, and the tempos can kind of sound a bit consistent and kind of, well, they can blur together on very extended stretches of the songs. But I would say a lot of things can be saved on here when Sasami kind of goes more into some heavier riffs, like on Figure It Out and I guess the distorted and pulsating feel of Possessed. In these moments, the payoff is totally worth it. In the end, Blood on the Silver Screen feels like a very deeply personal and quite ambitious record. It's not always polished, and possibly sometimes it drifts into some murky territories, but the album and all its imperfections really feel quite intentional. And so it feels like, like an artist purposely destroying part of their art to make the art even better. I feel like you're getting that here. Everything here is done with intention. Nothing was accidental in terms of good stuff, bad stuff. There is a vision here. And I think it's easy to see that Sasami is okay with experimenting and just leaning into discomfort and just letting her vulnerability be her sound and just showing it very obviously. The results here, you get an album that just kind of lingers long after you listen to it, similar to a film that just, finishes and you're just sitting there in the movie theater thinking like, what did I just watch? You drive home, you're still thinking about it. The next day it's there. You're getting a lot of similar ideas and feelings from this album. And so I would say this latest album from Sasami, Blood on the Silver Screen, I would have to give her a good and decent 7.5 out of 10. Links down below. Tell me what you think. Leave some comments and everything and some suggestions. And like always, see you in the pit.